You're listening to the Womanpreneur podcast. Empowerment in business and life. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Womanpreneur podcast. My name is Melissa Moats, and with me is my friend and partner in crime, Amanda McEwen.
Hello.
How are you?
Welcome. Welcome. I'm going to skip right past it, as you know.
I know you always do.
I do.
We are really excited today to talk about super skills.
Super skills. Things that you can wear a cape while doing?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a cape, but maybe.
I would like to get you a cape. What would your cape look like?
I was just going to ask you that question, but I don't know.
Your cape would have a cat on it wearing sunglasses.
Super cool cat?
Super cool cat with super cool sunglasses. And it would be dark purple, like a royal purple.
That's my superhero cape. Yours obviously is pink and sparkly and all the Melissa things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's the way I saw it too. Well, I want to just jump right in here because I am prepared and made a list.
You made a list
of all of the things that I think would be a super skill for. When I was putting this together, I was thinking about business owners, entrepreneurs, freelancers, things of that nature. But a lot of these I think are just good for everyone, whether you have a business or not. You know, this could be, you could apply a lot of these to your daily life, your home life, everything you're doing. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go for my first one, which is adaptability.
Adaptability is a really good super skill.
It is, because one thing that is for certain is change. Change is always happening.
Sorry. For the listeners, I am mocking Melissa, as I do, because the way she holds her coffee cup. So
she likes to.
It's just very angular. I like it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. But I think just the ability to roll with the punches. Mm-hmm. We talk a lot about this in different ways on different episodes, but I think oftentimes we get settled into a way we do things, or we have a hard time with change, and it's inevitable. Mm-hmm. It's always going to happen.
We set expectations, and then when things don't go our way, we get grumpy about it. Mm-hmm. When you can't control that, a lot of times that's just life. That's how it goes. Things change. Things don't always work out the way we want them to, no matter how much planning has gone into it, no matter how much we want them to happen. So the best thing you can do to just stay healthy and not get in that dark, negative place is adapt. Just go with whatever happens and know that there's a solution and there's something good that you can do. You just might have to change course a little bit.
Go with the flow. One of my favorite quotes of all time is, "Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans." Mm-hmm. John Lennon. Yes, John Lennon. Thank you, John Lennon. That's very true. So adaptability is definitely a super skill that you need to apply to your life if you aren't already. Another one that I thought was really important is creativity. And I hear so many people saying, "I'm not creative. I'm not a creative person." And I would challenge that statement by saying, you are a creator and you are very creative, because everything that you have happening in your life right now in this moment, the life you have, where you live, how you dress yourself, the career you have, everything that you are doing, you created.
Yep.
And being creative is so powerful. And what I like about the idea of being creative or creating is that if you feel like you aren't happy with some aspect of your life that you are facing right now, remember that you created it. Sometimes that's like a tough pill to swallow, but you also have the power to create a different version of your life, or of that aspect of your life. So,
yeah, I think a lot of times people when they hear the word creativity, they think painting or art or music or something of that nature, which are creative things to do. And I always say, I've talked about how I need to balance both sides of my brain. I can't just do all one or all the other. And for me, a lot of my creativity actually comes in to how I problem solve. So it's not necessarily going to paint something or draw something, but it's, okay, let me figure out how I can move all these pieces. How can I adapt and find a new solution? And that sometimes it's thinking out of the box to think, okay, well, it was set up this way, or it's always been done this way. That's not going to work. So how can I do something different? And it's just all about thinking and creating differently.
Absolutely. And there's always a solution, and there's always a way to, switch it up. So just keep an open mind and just try to look at things from all different angles, all different vantage points. And definitely think that that's a super skill. You know what's really fun about this for me? I'm sorry if you were just about to say something, but what's exciting is that these are all surprises to you.
They are.
Because I love how we just roll with it. But I like it because we're getting your fresh take on these ideas.
It's creative that you're not calling me unprepared. You're just saying that I give a fresh take. It's not unprepared. We just don't always talk about our topics ahead of time for this reason. We want it to be natural.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if open-mindedness is on your list of super skills. So you just mentioned it briefly, but in my opinion, that's a big one.
That one is not on my list specifically, but it works into one of my other ones.
Okay.
But why don't we talk about open-mindedness while we're here?
I mean, I just think it's really important to keep an open mind about people. And that's really hard because we all come with our baggage and our judgments. And it's very easy to put our own perspective onto other people. And that's not always fair to those people and they're looking at us through their lens. Everything is different. So it's giving people the benefit of the doubt, giving the situation just giving it a chance. And also kind of goes along with the adaptability, and maybe something else, there's another opportunity coming your way. It might not sound like something that's in your plan, but why not keep an open mind about it, especially when it's out of your comfort zone and you need to push yourself. Sometimes just being open to a new idea. And I think that part of it comes with just having conversations with people and listening. We talk a lot about listening and what you can gain from that. And sometimes it's perspective, sometimes it's a new idea. I just think it's important to stay open that your way isn't the only way. Yeah. And you might be really good at what you do, and you might meet somebody who does something completely different, but they say one thing and you realize, I could apply that to this other thing in my life. I never would have thought of it because my brain doesn't work that way. There's a lot that we can all benefit from each other.
Yeah. And when you keep an open mind, there's just the opportunity to learn. And there's so much learning that can be happening every day in your life if you just let it in. And I like what you said. My next one is tech savvy.
Tech savvy, especially now. And it's difficult to keep up with. Why do you think tech savvy is important?
I think tech savvy is important because it's something personally I struggled with, going back like 10, 15 years ago when I started to really realize in my world of voice acting that I really did need to be able to record my own audio and edit it and do those different types of things. And I thought, man, this is so hard. And it was such a roadblock for me. And I was really intimidated by it at first. But then when I really forced myself and I was like, no, this is something I need to be able to do. This is where my industry is going. And I forced myself to really learn it and be, very proficient at different software programs and all of that. I was really thankful that I just kind of like stared fear in the face and was like, I'm coming for you, know? Right. Yeah. And that applies to so many different, businesses and different, whether it's like graphic design or we have to be good at all of it, really. Go ahead.
It's funny because and maybe you have education on your list, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing you do. So we'll get to that. But for me, the technology aspect of what I do in production and what I do just with business in general, because I rely on software for everything, whether it's QuickBooks for the bookkeeping stuff, whether it's, just Word documents, or, you know how much I love my spreadsheets, all of everything that I do. My phone has my calendar that has my reminders of things that I need to do. It has my notes of things I need to do. And, but in the technology that I don't know, I was on this shoot recently and I started asking questions about the audio gear. And one of the guys got really excited. He's like, "Oh, you want to learn audio?" I said, "No, I don't want to do audio, but I want to learn audio." And he's just like, "No, I mean, come on, like I can show you this and this." I'm like, "Show me." But I'm not saying that you now need to hire me as an audio guy or, an audio person. That's not in it. And he's like, "Then why are you asking all these questions? The more I know about your gear, the better educated that I am." And sometimes there's a question, or I can at least help somehow. It's like when learning to use Adobe Premiere. I don't want to be an editor, but if I can understand how it works and what the codecs are and how to output stuff, sometimes convert files, these are all things, they're not part of my job as a producer. But there are times if I'm working with people and they're on a deadline and they just have all these files that need to be converted, or some simple task, why couldn't I jump in and do that?
Right.
And it helps me be better prepared and just educated. And one of my highlights is I was on a crew with a bunch of engineers and really, really smart, like super smart genius types. And one of them couldn't figure out how to get AirDrop to work. And I figured it out. And it was like, I'm like, I taught you something, and I was so happy.
I love, though, you love a good challenge like that.
But especially when it's something like, that's just somebody of that vast intelligence, especially with stuff like that. And it was something like AirDrop. I'm like, yes, I got it.
What?
I got it.
I'm not surprised, Amanda McEwen.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we should insert some like amazing applause right here. Maybe a couple of explosions.
We could just imagine it.
Yes.
Thank you, Brent.
Thank you. Thank you. No, but one of the things that I had listed on Tech Savvy is, like you said, the more you know. But I mean, it's so important. Like if you're posting certain things on social media, right? And you want to add logos or some graphics and stuff, it's like you need to know how to do a little bit of everything, I think.
Yeah.
I think you need to know how to at least do the basics. Like another thing I had written down was social media, being able to put good posts together, visually speaking, not only in your writing, which that's another thing that I had written down and I'll get to in a few minutes, but and then like bookkeeping, keeping track. So it's like everything from learning simple software programs to keep track of your books, to doing stuff on social, to building a basic website for yourself or a landing page. When you're brand new at business or freelance and you're just getting started, it's kind of like, it's just in your best interest to kind of have some type of familiarity with all of these different components. It's going to just help you be able to help yourself that much more.
Yeah. And when you're just getting started, I think taking advantage of the free tools that are out there. Like for a long time, I used Canva. I still use Canva for a lot of things. I use the free one, and you can create, they have templates and backgrounds and different text and ideas that you can use. I have Photoshop. I prefer Photoshop. But I didn't have it for a while because I just didn't want to spend the money for it. And then they had a good Black Friday deal last year. So that's why I finally have it now. But awesome. And I missed it. But in the meantime, I was weighing the options. It's like, you know what? I can do what I need to do with this free tool. And then when it makes more sense, then I'll pay for the real stuff. And now I'm glad I have the real, and I shouldn't say real stuff because there's nothing wrong with Canva. And even the paid Canva account is great because then you get a lot of extra stuff. You can save, like for our podcast, we have specific colors we use, specific fonts, all that branding kit. And you can save all of those settings so that you don't have to go enter the codes for your colors and all that stuff every time.
Right.
I still use, for my personal finances, I use Mint, which is an Intuit product, but it's free. It has ads. I don't care. I would rather have ads than pay money for it.
Yeah.
On the business side, I pay for QuickBooks because it makes more sense for business. But, I use Scannable. We've talked about my free scanning app, and there's just all kinds of free stuff out there that you can use that will simplify your life. And I just wanted to mention, though, it's a little contradictory to this, but I think sometimes you have to explore different options for technology because there's a lot out there, sometimes so much that it feels overwhelming. But you have, just like with everything, you have to find the one that works the way your brain works. And I was talking to a client yesterday that's been trying different proposal softwares and trying to streamline his process from, when he gets that first call with the client where he puts together a proposal, sends it off, gets it signed, sends the invoice, trying to streamline all of that. And he hasn't found the one program that does everything he wants it to do. And he was paying a lot of money for the one that was the closest. And he finally just said, you know what? I'm going back to what I was doing years ago, where it's a color-coded spreadsheet, and then I'm going to keep doing my stuff in QuickBooks. But if I'm using multiple programs anyway, this feels familiar to my brain, and this is what I'm going to use. And I think there's strength in that, and just saying, you know what? I tried different ways, and there's nothing wrong with this old way. If this is what's going to work for me, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. What you were just talking about ties into my next one, which is be resourceful. So being resourceful, means, first of all, I just want to remind everybody about the World Wide Web and Googling.
Google is your friend.
Google is your friend. And just something as simple as anything that you might be wondering, just take the moment to Google it. And there's usually a really great explanation of whatever it is you're wondering, what you want to know. Or there's a YouTube video you can watch.
Yes.
And there's so many great tutorials that walk you through so many things. I've learned how to do everything from, properly blow dry my hair with a round brush on YouTube to, how to really perfect my, my super skills in editing for voiceover, just by watching different videos. So go ahead. What were you going to say?
I changed my garbage disposal with a YouTube video.
Yeah, girl.
And that was because, I'm like, I can do this. I know I can. And I don't know how. It seems pretty simple. And I'm a little difficult because I'm a figure it out myself kind of person. I don't like to read the instructions all the time. When it comes to something like that, I'm going to make sure it's right because I don't want to mess with plumbing or electrical or any of that stuff that might ruin my house. But what I like about Googling things is, there's usually a visual option in a video form. There's usually a written option if you learn better that way, because we all learn things different ways. And that is, for me, figuring out Premiere. I could do the tutorials, because it even comes with here we can walk you through it. And I don't have the patience for it sometimes. I'm just like, I'll figure it out. But then I get stuck on something. I just Google it really fast. And usually for that, I'll watch a video because it shows me where all the buttons are. And it's like, there's no reason to not be able to do something. Again, I don't want to be a professional editor, but just being able to cut our social media videos for the podcast, being able to put captions on it, that was a big limitation that I had with iMovie, which is why I wanted to move on to the big boy products. And because captions are very important, because not everybody has a volume on because they're looking when they're at work and they're not supposed to, or whatever reason.
And you also don't want to start installing, garbage disposals professionally.
I don't.
Could be side hustle for you, but when you needed to do it, you watched a video and you got her done.
I got her done.
I like it.
Yeah.
But I just think that in all aspects of your life, it could be something, like I said, as simple as learning how to properly use your hair dryer and a round brush, to anything you're doing around the house, to different things that you're, little roadblocks that you hit when you're working. Just don't overlook the obvious, which is Google, YouTube, and then also ask someone who that's what their expertise is. Just call a friend, phone a friend. Remember that?
From Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah, phone a friend.
That was an old TV game show.
Old TV game
Google
show.
Google it. So you learn all about it.
It's still on.
Is it? Okay, good. So it's current. That makes me feel good.
It's on network cable television,
I
believe. But I'm sure that there's an app, and I'm sure that there's some other way you can watch it on the World Wide Web.
And that resourcefulness also, I think is, if you're on a project, you're working with a team, and if you see that one person or one group or somebody's struggling with something or there's a problem, if it's appropriate, there's no reason you can't jump in with an idea or a solution. And maybe it's not going to work, but instead of just sitting back and watching other people struggle, this is a big part of what my job as a producer is. It's putting out fires, finding solutions, just sometimes offering suggestions to like, okay, well, this is the current predicament. Would it work if we did this? Okay, no? Okay, great. Well, just thought I'd mention it. You never know. But sometimes that being able to help somebody else, they're going to remember it, especially if you get somebody else out of a jam, especially if it's something that you know and you can just offer that information freely, like, hey, I want to help you.
Yeah, you're being the resource.
Yes.
And that's really awesome. Share your gifts. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So my next one is communication and literacy.
Oh, literacy. I was definitely, I assumed that communication would be on this list because I still think it's number one in life. Communication is a big struggle for most everybody, but it's so important.
It is your number one super skill. And I know it's in the middle of the list, but whatever.
We didn't say these were any particular
They're
order.
not in any particular order. But I would say it is hands down the most important, because nowadays you not only need to be a great communicator when you're speaking, and face to face, but more so, I think, through your writing, because there's so much emailing happening and texting and social media posting. So it's important to be able to write well.
Yes.
Understand proper grammar, punctuation, being able to really express your ideas clearly and just, look intelligent in the way that you communicate. I know that my punctuation it gets really out of hand because I want to talk about my punctuation for a second. I feel slightly defensive about it. I know, but I want to just say one thing.
Please do.
I'm slightly an over punctuator, but it's because I'm a voice actor. And so when I'm writing, I am expressing it the way I'm hearing it in my head. And there's a lot of like ellipses and exclamation points and dramatic pauses. And I have to like write it. And I'm trying, the way I hear it and the way I feel it.
Yeah.
It's the way I feel it. So I'm always glad you proof my stuff.
Well, okay. And so it's in your defense, actually, because writing has changed. People struggle with this a lot. So there is old school traditional writing and grammar rules. And there's this current blogging, newsletters, where you're trying to talk to your friend and people are writing more in that way.
Yeah.
Because it's relatable and it's more conversational.
Yes.
And it's not, and sometimes the grammar is wrong and it's intentional and it's not, for me, this is difficult. And I know our friend Casey struggles with this a little bit too, because she wants to correct all the things that are wrong because she's an English person. Like she knows the right rules and she sees stuff and it's like, even when it's reading copy for voiceovers, it's like, this is not how it's supposed to be.
The struggle is real.
Yes. But things have evolved. It's kind of like technology changes things. The way that people communicate is different. And a lot of these, especially newsletters from coaches, from marketers, from different businesses, it's formatted in a very different way than if you were writing a paper for school,
right?
Or a scientific research paper. Like there is more leniency now. Spelling should never be incorrect.
Yes.
There's never any leniency on bad spelling. You should know the difference between your and your.
Yes. And there.
And there and there.
Yes.
Like, just the basics. Oh. And I see it all. Like that's one of my, I'm one of those people. It's my pet peeve. But
me too. It's a pet peeve of mine too. But I'm with you on the old school and the new school approaches to writing. But I think the idea is just being able to really express your ideas clearly. And so that if you are writing conversationally, read it out loud, or give it a little time and read it back to yourself before you hit send and just make sure that everything makes sense.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people post stuff very quickly before they've, even proofed it,
Yeah. Just get it out.
just get it out there. And I don't know. I just think it was something worth bringing up as a
I just
super
think you
skill.
wanted to talk about how much you love ellipses.
I
You
do
definitely
love
love ellipses.
I love me a good ellipses.
I don't know what you have against quotation marks. You only like the single. You don't use the double.
It's actually
Is
part
it in
of
your
another.
okay.
It's part of another conversation.
Okay.
It's part of another conversation that's happening today.
Okay.
But do you want me to reveal it right now?
Please, let's do it. I mean, you should tune in next week to hear what we're talking about, but
I just want you to know that I think that regular quotation marks look too busy. It's visually too much going on for me. I'm just like, I don't really want this. I'm doing the 2 air quotes in the air right now. I just like boop, boop, one. It's cuter. It's cleaner. It's more slim. It's like putting some Spanx on, It's like, I don't know.
okay. I always wanted to know why, because you will not use them. Very rarely. Sometimes you will, but I always wonder,
because I know
why does
everyone
she hate them so much?
Every once in a while, I'm like, I just probably should put regular quotation marks in so people know that I know. But it's like, it just visually looks so crowded and busy. It's like all like, here I am. I'm quotation marks all around. It's too much.
We all have our things.
So that was,
yes.
But I will just say, communication, verbally and written, very important super skills. Do not overlook how important they are. And it can also make a really poor first impression if your stuff is written very sloppily or very poorly. And I'm all about being new school and conversational, but there's a fine line. There really is.
And this is especially important on your LinkedIn profile. And if you still have a resume, if you're applying for a job and you need to send somebody a resume, if somebody needs a credit list, if you're in my industry, that's a big thing. That representation of your career, when you want to work with people, you want people to hire you, whether it's for a job or for a project, that should be perfect. There should be no misspellings. Spacing should be even. Everything should be perfect, because that's your first impression to get a job.
Yeah.
And I will dismiss, like back in the day when I used to hire people, I would dismiss a resume that had a typo on it. Yeah. So I'm like, if you're not paying enough attention to detail to this one thing that you're using to tell me why I should hire you, I don't trust you. And I know that sounds really harsh, but to me, it's like you have one job in that moment. It's to offer the best of yourself to somebody who doesn't know you. And there's a typo. Yeah, you don't care that much.
Yep.
Whether you probably do care, but it doesn't come across like you do.
Absolutely. Got a few more. This next one is leadership skills.
Yep.
So what do you want to talk about that? Anything?
It's an interesting one, because there are 2 different beliefs that leaders are made and leaders are born. And I come from the belief that anybody can be a leader if they put their effort into it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it's just general people skills.
Yeah.
And it's relating to people and understanding that we are all humans working together, and we all have feelings and emotions. And even though that's not supposed to seep into business, you can't, even the most robotic of us, we still have feelings. We have to connect on some level.
Yeah.
And remembering that about other people, and what people, the people who are good leaders are the ones, I think, who lead by example. Because they're not just telling other people what to do, they're showing them how to do it. And I don't even mean that by specific tasks. I mean that in how you are, who you are as a person, what your values are. Because to me, if I'm going to follow somebody, I don't even like the word follow. But if somebody, a team leader or a project leader, if it's not me, I have to respect that person, and I have to believe that they're in it for the right reasons.
Yeah. You said something that was really important to me on this little section, which was leading by example. It's really easy to, be, a lot of people, I think that leading is like, bossing or barking orders or,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many different interpretations of what the word means. But I think that being a good leader just is leading by example and lifting everyone up around you, you know, and seeing where other people need support, you know, and just being there for them. And I don't know, there's just kind of a quiet confidence, I think, about some of for me, the leaders who've inspired me the most in my life. It's like I never even realized that they're leading. It's just they're just so great at what they do, and they're so inspiring, and they're so helpful and in my corner. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, it's just they were like sneak attacking me and leading me.
Well, a lot of that, it comes from you need to spend time with the people that you're leading and figure out how does this person respond to different things? Because when we've talked about the love languages, we've talked to different motivators. We are all different in what works for us. And sometimes, I mean, if you're just telling people the way you think things should be, you're missing out on that connection that's really going to make the difference. And not just a difference for them, but for you also. I mean, you can help each other in that way, but it kind of goes back to communication. You have to talk to people.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes we're busy. We don't have time. We just want things to get done. But that's the only way to do it, and to show people, you know what, you matter.
Yep.
And
Communicate,
yes. And it's a very big one. We like how that works.
The next one I have is emotional intelligence, EQ. And I also put down awareness of diversity and inclusion. And I thought that was really important. This one to me is, I think that it's really important to understand that everybody is on their own personal journey. You have no idea, you know, the shoes that someone's walking in. And I think we all need to have a lot of empathy, you know, for others, and to really be mindful of everyone in our lives, in our circles. And I mean, I'm talking about people we don't even know, walking down the street. I think it's just really important to understand that we just got to put the love out there and the kindness out there, and not be so judgmental, and to really, really tune into our emotional intelligence and the emotional intelligence of others, and understand that some people, they're not tuned into their emotional intelligence.
Right.
And that's okay. But that's where we have to super finely tune our emotional intelligence and have empathy and compassion, and try to look at every situation and every moment that you face in your day, not just through your eyes, but through the eyes of all of the different people around you. So that you can just put more love and support out into the world, because I feel like that's what we need the most of.
Well, and it's very small-minded to assume that you know what's going on in somebody else's life. And that is what happens a lot of times. We make these snap judgments based on what we see, again, coming through our own personal lens and what state of mind we're in. You know, if you're having a bad day, it's very easy to put that judgment onto somebody else, and you just don't know. Or somebody might act a certain way and you think, wow, that person's really not great, or there's just something that you pick up on, but you don't know what's going on in that person's life that's maybe causing them to have that kind of attitude that day.
Right.
Or why are they making the decisions they make? Just because it's not the decision you would have made,
Right.
but it's not your life. So don't worry so much about what they're doing, but understand that there's probably a reason. And and sometimes the reverse of that, when you see somebody that's in a good mood and happy all the time, you don't know that that's real. You don't know what they're hiding sometimes, and not always in an intentional, like, oh, I'm going to keep this to myself. But a lot of us are proud, and we're strong, and we don't want people to know what's really going on. So you can't just assume that a person that's smiling is perfectly okay. And some people get mad at that too. They're like, oh, that person is too happy.
Right.
It's too happy.
Oh. Wow, that seems like such a familiar thing I've heard before.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Well, and then there's this other thing that ties into this, which is I think being observational versus being judgmental. And there's a difference. So you can observe things that are happening around you, but you don't necessarily have to judge them,
Right.
put a label on them. It's just observing is just really focusing in on everything that's happening around you and the people and their actions and your actions and interactions, and just saying, I'm observing all of this. It's like data collection, and it's trying to understand versus just seeing something and judging it. So try to, that's, I think, part of a healthy emotional intelligence is, giving yourself that opportunity to observe everything and take it all in, and just be sensitive to other people and what they're going through, what's going on.
I would say that observation is one of my super skills. And it's because of that. We've talked about me being an introvert and not always being the one to talk, but I observe and I question, and not question it and I'm not interrogating people, but I want to know why. And that's the biggest thing for me. It's why I'm drawn to documentaries, and why human stories are so interesting to me is people act a certain way for a reason, for a series of reasons. And I want to know why. And when you start to watch and you see patterns, it can help with that connection to other people, even though they don't always know that you're connecting with them yet. It comes later. And then sometimes I'll work with somebody, and then later on I'll just say something or do something, and they're like, how did you know that? It's like, well, I've been paying attention.
Yep.
You might not realize it, but I see what motivates you. I see what frustrates you. And I was just on, when I was on the big project that I worked on recently, I hadn't worked with this particular client on a job like that before. And I always like to talk to everybody on the crew, just trying to get a feel for little things sometimes. Like, okay, this guy likes this particular K cup, so I'm going to make sure we have enough for the days that he's here. Little things. But I flat out asked the owner of the company, I'm just like, okay, is there anything that I can do, especially on the actual day of the big job, that will make your life easier? And he stopped, and he's one of those guys that's always doing 100 things, and he'll listen, but he's just always, and he stopped and he looked at me, he's like, I don't think anybody has ever asked me that before. He's like, thank you. And it was very sincere, because I'm just like, I just wanted to know, like, do you forget to eat sometimes? Do I need to remind you? Like, do you want me to bring you a Pepsi? Like, because sometimes when you're in the midst of these stressful situations, people forget to eat, they forget to drink water. There's little things. So it's like, if I can be of some kind of use to make your day better, and the fact that nobody has ever asked him that before, it's like, wow.
I love when you just said, pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Just help.
Yeah.
Just remember, how would you like to be treated in a situation?
Yeah. Care. Just care.
Care.
So a couple more. I've got 1, 2, 3, I have 4 more. Next one is be collaborative. So that kind of ties into some of the examples I think that we've already, touched on. I mean, well, in a way, but collaborating is, one of the things I wrote down here was we always get more done, versus I. Yeah. So it's one of those things where just be really open-minded.
It's weird how all of this ties together somehow. Weird.
Be open-minded and creative and adaptable. No, but collaborating, it's one of the things that I've learned a lot about our studio and working with everyone is there's so many people on our team who have different strengths. And and they're exceptional strengths. And it's so fun to be able to collaborate and work together and to draw from each other's, skills and to kind of all come together and create something amazing, and you learn from each other. That's, another thing, but, I just encourage collaboration as much as possible in all things.
It's very important. This kind of goes back to the leadership thing, and something I was going to say about that is the leader has to be decisive. And that doesn't mean bossy. It doesn't mean that you just dismiss everybody else's ideas. But at some point, you have to make a tough decision that says, okay, I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. This is how my gut tells me that I need to do this, or my experience has led me to understand that I need to do something this way. And you have to be able to be tactful about how you turn down somebody's suggestion. That doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It doesn't mean that you don't value that person's input. But sometimes when you're collaborating with a lot of people, somebody has to step up and make a decision or nothing gets done. And there's a very fine line, but it's some of the best leaders I feel are the ones who do collaborate and they listen and they know that I'm not the only one with ideas here. Like there's a whole group of people here who are here because they're very talented and very skilled and I value them. But, at the end of the day, if this responsibility falls on me, I have to consider and weigh and decide.
Yep. And don't take it personally if one of your ideas and you being a part of the collaborative process doesn't, come through. You still contributed, you contributed by, sharing that idea and putting it out there. And maybe it doesn't come together this time in this particular situation, but it's something that gets applied later.
I just heard it was on the Armchair Expert podcast. I think, or maybe it was Conan's podcast. It was one of those, but there was somebody on it from the SNL days. And there was a skit that this guy, he pitched over and over and it got turned down time and time again, but he kept pitching it because he thought it was funny. Never ended up on SNL, but it ended up on 30 Rock because Tina Fey was a writer at the time on SNL and she thought it was funny. So she found a way to get it into 30 Rock.
That's
so it's,
awesome.
It's weird example maybe, but it happens. So don't ever give up on your ideas. If you think it's good and you believe in it, it's just maybe not the right time for it.
Absolutely. And just remember, we is always better than I. and just sometimes you have to put your ego aside and just remember that there's a lot of good people around you who can really help bring different ideas to life and enjoy that process. And the next one I have is take initiative.
I think I have a lot of number ones, but I think on the personal side of things, initiative is why I am where I am. And that is one of the things that I respect the most in people that I'm doing work with. Do I have to tell you what to do? Or can I just give you a general idea and you're going to run with it and you're going to make it better? I like the people who are going to run with their own thoughts and make things better. Again, not with stepping on toes and not completely dismissing what their role is, but I don't want to have to babysit everybody.
Oh, you mean you like working with people who are resourceful?
I do. I think resourceful people are great.
Yes, me too. That's one really nice way to collaborate.
Yeah.
I love our word games.
We're cheesy. We know.
We
it's
are.
Fine.
We
Don't
like
worry
it.
about it.
We like it a lot. No, but I think there's a lot to be said for people who take initiative. And I think that we talk a lot on this podcast about people who, have big dreams and big goals and they want to do something and you've been hearing them talk about it for years and years and years, but it's that taking action and just going for it.
Do more than what's expected of you.
Yeah.
You talked about that.
Yeah, that's what gets you those results. And that's the difference between the people who are doing things, they're taking initiative versus the people who in their mind is so busy. It's like they're thinking about it so much, but man, you'd feel so good if you just went for it and took that initiative. So
you on your list, you had mentioned diversity and then we kind of skipped past it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry.
The reason because we're talking about collaboration and I think it's really important to have different types of people, different ages, different backgrounds, different history, different experiences, because that helps make a more well-rounded product, service, whatever you're doing.
Absolutely. Seeing it from all different sets of eyes and backgrounds. Yeah, I love that. The other one that I have is self-management skills / stress management skills.
Yes.
Would you like to talk about that?
I finally went for a massage and a facial the other day. It was the first time in months because I was not taking my own advice with the self-care because I just legitimately did not feel I had time.
Yeah.
For months. It's been a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
And I finally got to a point where I felt like I could breathe. And it was just, I sent you an email and said, Melissa, I'm taking my own advice.
I was really happy to see that email.
Because it was just, I let it go too far.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was, I have to do it now. It's
I was
time.
proud of you. And I thought it was great for you to go get a nice massage.
Well, and I think it's the stress management part, I think, is difficult for a lot of people. And I was just talking to somebody the other day that said, I didn't realize how stressed I was in this situation until I got out of it and could reflect on it. Mm-hmm. And that's happened to me a number of times. Like, I didn't realize my job was slowly crushing me until I got out of it. And I was like, whoa, like weight lifted, things are so much better now. How was I? But it's like a coping mechanism. Sometimes you just have to put the stress away because you have to get through what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it can build up.
It's like when you're in a real life pressure cooker.
Yes. That's not the kind of Instant Pot I like.
Pot. No,
that's not good. I don't want to go in there.
All of a sudden,
my food.
Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Me.
Right.
No.
But I think, self-management self-management for me, self-management is managing my day in a way that I'm prioritizing, I'm taking care of everything I need to take care of, which does include me. And then the stress management is just having the awareness, I think, about what's your body saying to you. Are you, getting enough sleep? Are you feeling really agitated, and stuff like that. So I don't know, just those are some of my signs that
I just think for any business owner or any life liver, I mean, you
a life liver?
you have to have the prioritization skills, the time management skills, because there are always a lot of things that need to be done. And you have to be like, if you let them just look at them all and like, I don't know where to start, you're not going to start, and it's just going to keep building up.
You're not going to take initiative?
Right. So you have to develop that skill somehow to like, okay, these are the things I need to get done. Here's how I'm going to do it, and then do it.
Yeah.
Because without that, probably your business and your own mental health is going to flounder a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. So make sure you are taking care of you. And then my last one was never stop learning.
Yeah. I told you education would be on the list. Somehow I just knew that because that's progress. That's how life improves, is by learning new things.
Absolutely. And I think every day one of my goals is to read and to learn or to watch a really great video. Sometimes it's just like a little 5-minute thing. I'll read a blog, or that's one of the things I do in the morning is there's some business blogs I like to follow. I like to read those in the morning, and I'm like, that was nice. That was interesting. Let's see if I can take something from this little blog I read and apply it to my life today and see how it feels.
Yeah.
Or watch a little inspirational video, or just some kind of, I don't know, tip or trick. And I'm like, interesting. Let me see if I can do a crunch better. I'm going to learn. I'm going to
do a crunch better.
Let me see if I can, whatever. I don't know.
While you're blow drying your hair with a round brush.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to have good abs, like some people I know.
Pilates, I'm telling you, it's all core based.
I know. But never stop learning is the last super skill. So there's so many more I think we could have talked about, but these were some that really stood out to me when I was brainstorming and I wanted to share.
Yeah, and I would like it if you guys would share some of your super skills with us.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Where can they share that to?
Go ahead, tell them, Amanda.
You could do it at the womanpreneurpodcast.com. We have links on there to all our social. You can find us there. You can comment on YouTube if that's where you're watching us. You can comment on our website if that's where you're watching us. You could leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to our podcast in your ears.
We appreciate you.
We do.
Thanks for taking the initiative and listening. Have an awesome day.
Thanks for tuning into the Womanpreneur podcast. Until next time, you've got this.